it's me again. Welcome back to Recovery Month. It's 1992. Bit gutted. My Tamagotchi's died, which is upsetting. Been playing Street Fighter 2 all day, trying to perfect the instant death strike move, which is about 15 button manoeuvre. And I've been listening to House of Pain for most of the morning. So 1992 was the year that, if I remember rightly, Basic Instincts came out, and fathers of teenage boys across the world were wondering why the pause button on their VCR was knackered. But so there we go. So what's been happening for me today? It's a Saturday, and been having some conversations, or at least texting some of my peers from Sharps. I went through the Sharps process with some unusual characters that I met on that journey. The likes of Spider Monkey, Captain Oates, Pepper Pot, Danny. These are all real people who managed to achieve those nicknames over the course of that process. It's a very intense thing going through that rehab. You find the sort of friendships that I've probably never had, or at least not since I was a teenager. Have you had that sort of friendship that is very profound, and when you are in a process by which you've sort of had all of the masks peeled away, and you're just, there as you are, sort of this shuddering, vulnerable thing ready to be rebuilt. When you've experienced that with another human being, there is undoubtedly, of course, if a friendship blossoms from that, is something special. And so these people are very, very close to me, and also obviously connection in recovery with human beings is incredibly important, because the first thing that I wanted to do during the very depths of the madness, if you like, is isolate. And the power of talking to like-minded individuals with the same condition is, as they say, is without equal, and it's a fundamental part of my recovery. And if you, let's be honest, I didn't think that one of my best friends was going to be called Spider Monkey or Captain Oates. It's a ridiculous suggestion. Spider Monkey was named after some flight of fancy in rehab, whereby which she suddenly became my pet, and I'd bought her in some Moroccan bazaar for £450. It's not the case. This was just this surreal tangent this conversation took, and she has been known as Spider Monkey ever since. I think it's an amazing nickname, and I'm glad it stuck. The story about Captain Oates is a long one, and one that I won't be sharing. Not quite as amusing, but still a brilliant nickname. But alright, although guys, if you are watching, so what have I been doing today? So food for thought today. So my parents came down, who have been a great support, and I've had some very, very interesting conversations with my parents throughout this whole thing. Certainly since I went into detox and went through rehab, and then have come out the other side of it, and because I was lying to them for years, really. And when you are suddenly honest and you say, this is how I felt, this is what I'm going through, this is what I went through, the dynamic of that relationship starts to change. And even this morning I was thinking how different it would have been when my parents would have come down previously, because my whole day would have been planned around trying to remain normal while they were here. So it would have been a plan, it had been going on from the previous night, to making sure there was no chance that I would start coming off, sobering up, whatever you want to call it. So I would have positioned alcohol in various places so I could have got to it, in order that I was at least steady before they got here. And even then I would have been we went for a walk, for example, today. Even then I would have been trying to divert the walk to somewhere where we could have had access to alcohol, and I wouldn't have been engaging with them. I would have only been engaging with my addiction, and your whole life is military precision and planning. It's bloody hard work being addicted to something. It's exhausting, and requires this level of planning. It did for me, at least. That's not to say it did for everyone. That I've only got my story, and that was me. I planned meticulously to avoid being found out, or to avoid being made to stop doing the thing that I felt I couldn't stop, or however you want to put the misty grey feeling that is that thing, however you want to put it. Today was a very different experience. My parents came down. God love them. They're making an effort to understand a very, very difficult thing to understand, and that's to their credit. We enjoyed the walk. We went along the river. Obviously, my other half was there. Other half, the terrible term to bestow on this ethereal porcelain majesty that is that is my fiance, but other half I'll have to do. So we walked along and had chats about varying subject matter. My addiction was one of them, but we also talked in regards to philosophy and life, and if we were planning on going on any holidays coming up to Christmas, because we've had a bit of a year of it. How my sister was doing. We noted flora and fauna, and whilst there were occasions when I was reminded of how my mind would have worked previously, and there were little twitches, little glints, little shadows walking past the mind, reminding me of how that thought process would go. It wasn't an overwhelming or overbearing sense. I enjoyed the occasion, and I actually said to my mother, I was trying to. My father's a great salesperson, and he's a brilliant raconteur, and he has a habit of or an ability to romanticise things and make things seem amazing, and that I had that sort of approach. That's how I would approach drink. I didn't just have a bottle of Wild Turkey whiskey or whatever it may be. I had, this was the drink that Hunter S. Thompson had when he was in the desert. I was drinking this whole experience. It was like an emotional thing for me, however bizarre, pathetic, childish that sounds. That's how I perceived it. I was drinking this experience. This was an emotional connection to this substance, which I'm aware of now. I've got a helicopter view of that, or more of it, and I can see how that thought process works, and I can start to understand it and maybe control it a little better, and it does get easier. The more you do it, the more you practice it, like anything. But just a relief to be able to enjoy that walk. I've planned to meet some of my friends tomorrow, or at least Captain Oates, for a coffee and just engage in ordinary conversation. The relief of not having to plan everything around drinking, the relief of being able to enjoy the company of other people, to enjoy the small things, is amazing. And it's only when you feel it, the simplest things, are the big things, because you are robbed of them for that process. So I've had a really, really nice day. It's, as I say, the dynamic with my mother's changed. I've actually found that I've actually always think I've had loads in common with my dad, and I have. I've got a tremendous amount, but I've discovered that I've got an enormous amount in common with my mother, which I've never realised, to the level that I do. And she's become a very, very good friend, and I'm immensely proud of the fact that she's actively gone out and tried to learn more about my condition and is interested. So that's super. But back onto the fact that my father's a raconteur and can romanticise anything. He's managed to convince me he was going on about buying a pizza and having additional mozzarella on top of this pizza, and the way he sold this thing to me, the visuals he was using to describe this pizza he was going to make. Well, there's only one thing I would be doing when I finish doing this, and it's popping over and getting this pizza with additional mozzarella. because I will, by nature, become obsessed with the bloody idea of that pizza. Like I've become obsessed with the idea of, I'm looking over, you can't see over here, of course you can't, you're a camera, we've had that conversation. Banana bread and bananas. So someone said bananas are good for you. I've become obsessed with the idea of bananas as well. Eat bananas, buy bananas. My significant other has made banana bread. I was starting to get a bit sick of it, to be honest, and it's gone full circle. What's my mum brought down today? Banana bread. I will be turning into the worst superhero of all time, which is Potassium Boy. And what meaningless, pointless superpower will come out of being heavily laden with potassium is beyond me. So that's pretty much it for today. Obviously, I'll be checking this one for 1993. Where we'll continue this Sunday tomorrow. So I haven't made any plans yet, but I'll tell you how that goes. Other than meeting Captain Hopes, as I said, and I'll tell you how that goes. And we shall now move forth and service the amygdala in my brain, the reward centre of my brain, with pizza with additional mozzarella. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks very much. Love, have we still got Basic Instinct on DVD?